All right, I have 7 o'clock on my time here. I'm going to call our meeting to order. And we are going to say the Pledge of Allegiance.
One more time.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Practice makes perfect.
Yep. All right, first item on the agenda is our April claim docket. Everybody have a chance to review those?
I have reviewed the April claim dockets and I make a motion to stand.
Okay, I have a first.
I'll second.
I got a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, claim docket's accepted. Next we have March meeting minutes for the town, and we also have 3 sets of meeting minutes from our public hearings for the top fire territory that hopefully everybody's had a chance to look over and make a motion for accepting those.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes for the meeting and the fire territory meeting.
Okay, got a first?
I'll second that.
Got a second? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion carries. We're going to close our standard business meeting now and open a public hearing for the Snowbird policy ordinance. We've introduced this 3 months ago and talked about it the last couple meetings. Any public comments on Snowbird policy? Okay, no public comments on Snowbird. I will close our public hearing and reopen our standard business meeting. So first item on old business is adoption of Snowbird ordinance. Everybody on the council had a chance to review that. Any
I'll make a-
questions or discussions? Oh, go ahead, sorry, John.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we adopt the snowbird ordinance.
Okay, I got a first,
I'll second that.
got a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next, a quote for electrical outlets on light poles. Did somebody receive a quote from the engineer for Duke Energy? I did not. I
Yeah.
contacted them a couple of times, and last time I talked to the customer service lady, he was still out. His wife had a baby, so.
Okay.
Which, the outlets are for Christmas lights or potential Christmas lights next season, so not something pressing right now.
Yeah,
Okay, I didn't know if somebody had
no, it
gotten
was just tabled, so anything that's tabled, I just put it on the agenda
Yeah.
again, just to see if anybody has figured it out.
Well, let's table it another time.
Okay,
So, all right, next item on the agenda, Kubota purchase, so UTV quotes. We got quotes, Pete?
Yeah, we got one in February from McAllister's.
Pete, sorry, I'm gonna interrupt. I've been getting feedback. People on our YouTube channel can't hear you when you're talking from the back, so either come up to the podium or project.
Yeah.
I thought I was doing all right.
Yeah.
All right, we got one from McAllister's in February. Started out at $25,450. I called him yesterday. There's since been a 5% increase.
of course it has.
So now it is $26,722.50. I got one from Edwards. His quote was $28,320.53, and he said he could give us a 6% discount, which would bring it to $26,621.30, which makes a difference of $102.20. But Edwards says he can't get it till March of 2023. McAllister says they can get it the first time we went in 30 to 90 days, but now it's the fall. of this year. So we won't have it during the summer.
Any questions for Pete on the Kubotas?
They quoted the exact same,
Pardon?
it's a quote for the exact same, like.
Yes,
like
yeah,
model.
same equipment.
Where is this McAllister's? Where?
It's
is
up
it
by
in-
Emerson Avenue, yeah, right off 465.
Okay. So if we have to have it serviced or anything done to it,
Well,
it
it'd
would be
it would
better
probably
to
be-
have it closer to
yeah.
Danville.
But I'm assuming it would be just like if you bought an automobile, you could take it to any dealer and have it serviced.
Any other questions for Pete? Any other discussion on the Kubota? Anybody got a recommendation?
I'll make a
on what they wanna
motion
do
that we
next?
purchase the Kubota from McAllister Machinery.
Okay, so on the table, we've got a motion for purchasing the Kubota from McAllister. Need a second.
I'll second that.
Okay, got a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Okay, I will give Mr. Walsh a call tomorrow then.
Thank you, Pete.
Put us
Tell
on
him
the
I said
list.
hello.
Pardon?
Tell him I said hello.
Okay, I will.
Next item on the agenda, payment for Indiana Municipal Management Association. And this is for
This
town
is
manager.
town manager dues for the association of $100. So this is for.
We need a motion for that or just an approval?
Just an approval, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, now, will that membership cover both of our town managers or just you?
The membership is technically just me.
Okay. Do we want to have both of our town managers, members of this organization? It's a good place for networking and
Network
getting,
information.
they have a conference once a year that you could attend, which I think this year it's virtual.
No, it's
right?
in April.
Oh,
It's coming up in a few weeks, and I'm not able to go. I've known that for some time.
Where's it at? Is it in Indiana?
Yes.
Las Vegas? You sure you can't go?
No, I.
if it's
If
in
it's
Florida,
Vegas,
I'm
Jenny will go.
available.
I was like, I'll be the town manager.
Jenny will go for you. If it's in Vegas.
Yeah, I forget what small town it was in.
Okay.
It was up north.
I just thought maybe
Somewhere.
it might be
Yeah.
somewhere nice.
I just knew I had a previous conflict that I'll be out of town with my wife that we've had planned for like 6 months. So
Okay, and this is, this organization is kind of a subgroup of the AIM, the Accelerate Indiana Municipalities, and they just have kind of formed their own little offshoot for municipal managers. So just my question to the group, do we want to just do one membership for Jeff, or do we want to do one for both of our town managers? Both?
Yeah.
Everybody all right with that? So,
Yeah.
so two memberships, and that's an annual
it's an annual membership.
membership, $100. And we'll take that out of John's pay.
Okay, yep,
No, just kidding.
drop in the bucket, yeah.
All right. And I got a consensus from everybody that we're gonna pay the
Yeah.
$200 for two memberships for a year. All right, very good. Moving on to the next, ARPA funds, American Rescue Plan Act funds. So far, we have $119,000. We're expected to get our second installment of that in May. Is that right?
I believe so. Or was it all, we got the first one in August, right?
We did.
Is it in May or is it a whole year before we get the?
I don't remember now.
Yeah.
But and we created an ordinance last year
Mhm.
in the fall to what we're allowed to spend that on. I have been hearing from the Treasury Department that they have slowly started expanding what we can spend that on. So some communities are now finding they're able to use it for street paving and sidewalks and other things that weren't initially on that, which would probably mean we would have to modify our ordinance if we wanted to go outside of what we already wrote, correct?
We'd have to look at it. I think
Yeah.
we tried to do as broad as possible. We might have included language in there that said whatever else is permissible or something like that, hopefully.
Well, we started doing the report today, and I probably should have started in December of last year.
Not an easy report, is it?
The report's fine.
The report's fine, I can't get me as the,
Authorized.
authorized signer to go through. It keeps
Oh.
saying I'm not the authorized signer. Have you been on there?
Mm-mm.
I thought you
Well, I
told me
mean, I
you were on.
looked at it, but on the Treasury's website,
Yeah.
where
So I
this
had
is
to-
different than the UEI number thing that we dealt with last week, right?
Right,
It's
right.
different than that.
This
So
is-
this is just the Treasury Department's website for reporting.
So I had to send a message to find out how I could edit.
Yeah.
We can't even find a way to edit it cause on the thing, we've got you as number 1 and me as number 2, so we were thinking maybe that's the reason it wouldn't go through. So we wanted to edit and put me as number 1, which it should be, and you as number 2. And,
As it should be.
as it should be.
should be.
And, we can't figure out, there's nowhere to edit it. So I sent a message to the SFLS
The help desk.
MNOP to find out how to edit it, and I haven't heard back from them yet.
It's not a very user-friendly system.
I was just gonna say, it's the federal
Yeah.
government, so I'll probably find out in about 6
Treasury.
months
Yeah.
how I can do it. So, anyway,
All right, well, they just expect, by April 30th to hear what we spent this money on, and,
yeah, we got it all
Fortunately
filled
for
out,
us
just
now,
can't
we
get it to go through.
Yeah.
okay. We haven't spent any of it, so that's
Exactly.
the good thing, is
Yeah.
we are not.
It's gonna be a pain in the you-know-what when we have spent the money, though. I'm just telling you.
And we have until December of 2025 to spend
Yes.
all of the money, correct? So, has anybody come up with ideas on what they want to look at spending this money on?
Well, we're gonna hear about the property across the street. Yeah, sure. And getting that, turning it into a parking, or whatever we're gonna use it for, could be spent on that.
Purchasing property. I don't think it would work for purchasing property.
No.
It's things like, sewer and wastewater, broadband infrastructure,
But we're using it for infrastructure, we're buying it to turn it into an infrastructural asset.
I mean, I've heard of more
Yeah.
ridiculous stretches of this. Somebody when we were down in French Lick, they said they spent it on like stoplights or
Yeah, some
something
of them
weird
were,
like that
they
didn't
were
seem to
really
fit
reaching
any of
for
the stuff either.
ways to spend it.
Somebody. So I mean, we can certainly double check and try to see if that'll fit in there. Anything else on the ARPA funds?
If we can use it for sidewalks, we need some sidewalks repaired. I know in walking around town, there's quite a few sidewalks that aren't even there anymore, they're just gone.
Overgrown. Now with our community crossing matching grant, we can't just pay for sidewalks, but when we repave a street, we're allowed to redo the sidewalks at the same time with that. So that's one good thing about that, and HWC engineering, that's further on down on our agenda today, but so we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
But if
That's all part of the ADA plan too, for sidewalks and stuff.
all right, anything else on ARPA? Okay, very good. Thank you, Jenny and Judy, for working on that Treasury website to get approval to submit our form. Next thing on the agenda, agreement with Christian Support Center. Did we come up with anything yet, or we need a formal agreement?
I'm happy to help, I just need to know what the terms are.
So they're probably something that we can work with Jeff and John
Yeah.
on some language, I guess. They're occupying the building.
Yeah.
They're using it. They even do some of their own maintenance and upkeep
Yeah.
stuff. So that would be helpful
Yeah.
since John's.
Yeah, I think one of the things it's talking about, Gleaners were supposed to come out and they would talk about purchasing a building or for them, an outbuilding of some sort because of the lack of room and stuff. And, you know, I guess it'd be up to us to decide how big of a building they could have and where you could place it. You know, cause just right due east of the building right there is the, sewer line right there, cause the clean out's right there. So, but that's what they were talking about, needing something. And if the town got it, for they left, it would belong to the town, cause the building's ours now. And for some reason the pantry moved someplace, that building would belong to the town also.
Upon completion of the construction of the building,
Yeah,
the town would take over ownership of it.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, well, if you don't mind, John,
Yeah.
you and
Okay.
Jeff could work on some
Okay,
categories or language for what we're looking at, what parameters we need to do with that.
okey doke.
All right. Next item on the agenda, manhole rehab. Jeff, you got anything on that?
I don't have anything else from, GRW on that at this point in time.
Okay. We'll table it again. HWC agreement.
This is an agreement that I presented last time. We had, if you remember, we had two different agreements with HWC. We approved the PAM for them to do the road analysis. The second agreement was them to come in and do the ADA plan to get us into compliance with the state and federal requirements that are needed to do a plan on how we're going to be coming into ADA compliance. Obviously, that includes evaluating all town-owned buildings and properties, plus the streets and the sidewalks as far as ADA compliance goes. Yes.
Is that gonna include the Christian Support Center?
Technically, it would at the town business. And this is a plan, and we have to come up with a plan and say, here's the issues, and we can say it's gonna take 10, 15, or 20 years to address them, and we'll address them as we do, you know, if it's a sidewalk, we'll address it when we do the streets, and so how we're gonna address any of the ADA issues that we may find. I'm not a qualified ADA type person on some of that, so, and those regulations change rather frequently, so I had asked HWC, you know, they'd approached me with the ability to do this type of plan, and they're doing it for some other communities. They sent us a proposal over as a not to exceed $12,000 to do this plan on our behalf. And my suggestion is let them do it. We've told the state that, you know, we're working on it. We did the Title IX stuff earlier. The non-discrimination part of it is already complete. We'll have to, you know, have that one meeting annually to say that we're following those rules, but this is the next step in the making sure we come into compliance with all the state codes, so we can continue receiving the funds that we get from the state. They've notified, this is a fairly large topic from AIM and the managers group that we're dealing with. A lot of communities are dealing with trying to put this plan together. So, my suggestion is while HWC here is doing the roads, they can do this analysis pretty much at the same time. And it's an hourly not to exceed, so if they, the hours only adds up to $8,000, we're only gonna get charged to $8,000.
But not to exceed 12.
But not to exceed 12. And their schedule is like a 4-month schedule to complete this. This is not a quick process.
Well, I make a motion that we hire them to get us up to ADA accessible.
I'll second.
Alright, I'm just gonna add one more thing. There's 2 agreements with HWC that we're addressing. The
Only one.
ADA, okay. So the Pamper one, we've already,
We approved that last month.
the we've already taken care of. Pavement asset management plan. Alright, sorry, my bad. Alright, so I've got a first and a second motion on, the ADA compliant agreement for $12,000. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Do we have a second?
Yes, Leanne was the second.
Thank you.
Sorry. All right, next item of old business, fire territory. We had 3 public hearings in one beginning of February, one the end of February, one in March, and then a vote in March about creating a fire territory. We were not successful getting this passed, and there was some talk about wanting to have a discussion in the town council meeting now. I don't want to drag this out with tons of debate, but I do agree that we need to have some clarification on some things. One thing, this kind of was an issue that I took on right at the beginning of becoming a town council member back in 2019. So I was very passionate about seeing this brought to us as a proposal. I was disappointed that we did not fix it. We weren't successful in that. I feel myself like we didn't give it the best go around. In discussions prior to the proposals, I got basically the thumbs up from each of you that this was something we wanted to do, this was something we wanted to fix. Somewhere along the way, the 4 of you changed your mind, which is fine. I'm not upset about that part. I am upset about the fact that none of you came to me and said, I changed my mind. I felt like with the work that we've been doing together as a team, that common courtesy would have been that you came to me and said, I don't like this proposal because of XYZ, or I'm not going to support this because of these problems. But nobody did that for me. Nobody came to me and said, here's why I'm not going to vote for this. And so I went into that vote thinking that everything was going along the way that you had indicated initially. So I kind of feel like the rug was pulled out from underneath me, and that you didn't give me the chance to fix problems that came up, which I understand problems come up, and that I didn't expect you guys to just blindly agree with me. At no point in time was that my thought process. But when an issue came up where you decided, I don't agree with Doug or this proposal, that you would have given me the chance to, okay, let's work through that then. Let's figure out a plan of attack to solve this problem before it's too late.
Well, I don't think it's failed yet, it just hasn't been passed yet. And I think we did try to give it due process and try and have, some meetings where we could openly discuss it, not among email, and get some ideas, and that didn't happen. And the information that we got when we talked to you individually, and suggested that we were all on board, did not have near the information that we got presented in the meetings, the 3 meetings. That we didn't know the tax rate, we didn't know all that kind of stuff. We didn't know that we weren't gonna know what our money was gonna be spent on. We didn't know that there's millions of dollars sitting out there that's nobody's speaking to. All the stuff that the people were standing up and talking about, I think that's what changed my mind was that. But I don't feel like that was a vote against the fire department at all. On the contrary, I think if you went around the table, we would all agree that the fire department is, they do a great job for the position that we have them in. And this needs to be done, but we're not there yet. We're not there with the information that we have. We're not there with 32% is a lot of money for a lot of farmers. Life-changing, business-changing percentage. And that for me is the reason I was a no on it at the final. So the period between when those meetings started and we got that information to the period when we voted, we didn't have the opportunity to sit down and discuss it, amongst us, I guess.
Why not?
So,
Well, we tried, and the notice didn't get put in quick enough, I guess, is what was brought up. And so therefore, we never got rescheduled. And so we were trying to figure out, and that was almost at the end, but we didn't have that. We didn't have time to talk amongst the town council group about everything that was taking place between us and the township trustee. I agree with everything that Steve said, and I sent everyone an email this afternoon about how I felt about everything. I think the work you did there was nothing wrong with the work that you did. The problem fell on the fact that we didn't have public support, and that was evident and gained evident as the meetings progressed. And so without public support, I'm not willing to vote yay on something when we don't have the public support. We didn't have the public support because the public was not well informed. And the public wasn't well informed because the township trustee and the township board did not make any effort outside of the bare minimum legal requirement to publicize any information about it at all. And so that was not handled correctly. And I think we should readdress this throughout the next part of this next year, continue the work that you've done, form a committee with a bunch of community members that can come in and volunteer and sit and have expertise in several different areas, and we can hash this out and help the chief figure out what his scope of work will be, what his operation costs will be, and what his funding needs to be. I think he took a stab at it, and that's fine, but it was too high. And there's got to be another way to do this without impacting the tax base that much. I'm not criticizing what you did at all. It's just, it was
I
the
disagree.
process.
I disagree with you saying it wasn't advertised enough, because the people in Clayton got it on their sewer bill. That's all you guys should have even worried about, was the people in Clayton. They got it on their sewer bill. They got it on Facebook. They got it on the chat.
I'm also a township member.
Well, I
so I'm
understand that
concerned about
too,
the township too.
but you mostly should be concerned about your constituents in Clayton. That's just how I feel about it. I can say stuff too.
I know you can. But
And I don't want this to turn into a heated debate with us. I think my reason for bringing up what I felt like I wasn't involved in your discussions. I mean, you admitted to a guy on Facebook that you had meetings individually with the other town council members, and I wasn't involved in that. You didn't involve me in your discussions. And I feel like, wow, I put this together and worked on this, and I didn't even deserve the common courtesy of a phone call or, hey, Doug, we're talking about shooting this down, and we want you to know why. And I still don't know why. People stop me all the time in town, hey, how come the fire territory thing didn't go through? And I say, I have no idea, because nobody shared that with me. So that's what I'm hurt about. And I am hurt. I'm just, that's honest. I feel like I deserved at least a, hey Doug, sorry, your proposal isn't gonna work this year because of X, Y, Z.
That's just to fall in line.
Yeah.
No, I don't think.
I never said I want you to fall in line. I
At what-
said I want us to work on a proposal. And I feel
Well, it
like
seemed
us
like
as a team
It seemed
that
like
we
the
can.
proposal was already put in place and we were just supposed to sit back and either accept it or not.
No, you
At
guys were
what point-
offered
What
the
could've-
chance to
what
ask
could've
questions.
changed? What could have changed? The amount of tax
The,
rate?
everything, yes,
No.
everything
That
of
was
it
never
could have
pointed
changed.
out to us.
At what point did we receive a report from Greg Gutierrez that we got on the first meeting that we attended for that? Surely Ron Myers didn't see it for the first time that night, and I would suspect that he didn't either. So, I feel like you should be hurt a little bit. Because we didn't necessarily include you, but at the same time, we feel the same way that we didn't have a chance to look at it until that very first meeting. Nor did we, again, I reiterate, we never had a chance to discuss it amongst us before. So I guess my thing is there's enough of that to go around, and we should, try our best to put it behind us and move forward. I don't think that it failed. I just don't think it was approved yet. So.
I think we all want a fire territory to be formed. It's just wasn't done in the right way. And it wasn't done with the right amount of money being thrown at it.
Okay, so what is the right amount of money
I
that
have
you
no
want to
idea.
throw
That's
at?
why we need to form a committee and do some studying and come up with something other than just these employees running this amount of time and then stating, I have no idea what we're gonna do after that because I don't have time to formulate that. That was probably the worst statement that could have been made outside of it's in the bank.
Yeah, I feel like before the 3 meetings, I was all for it. I think from what you had told us, I was for it. But when we got there and we started hearing some of the other stuff that was coming up, knowing that the school had just raised our taxes and they're raising again our taxes, and then we're gonna hit them again with more taxes. And for me, and I will just speak for myself, I couldn't, I wasn't there. I wasn't there to vote yes yet. So.
Any other discussion on fire territory?
I would like to see that we do try to get some kind of a committee together. I have talked to a couple of people that have come in the flower shop. They are interested. And I think that's what we need to do is,
Okay. In 2019, when I was first approached by James McDermott, I asked this group about it, and it was suggested to form a committee then. I put out an advertisement on the Chatter and on our Facebook page, and there were 8 people that showed up here. And none of you guys were amongst those 8.
I don't recall that. When was that?
I
But
don't recall that
I
either.
mean, it was in 2019,
I wasn't on the board.
so, right? It's definitely something that has been put out there and that we, need to work on it and, I feel like, it's a very complicated issue. I know the county council talked about it last week at their meeting on Tuesday morning. And then there was a meeting that Graham attended with, Jeff Thompson and, Commissioner Dawes and some other people. And then the county commissioners meeting on Tuesday morning, they talked about it again. They're very divided on what they think should happen, so I don't think I'm gonna see any kind of an answer coming from the county commissioners on this, and we shouldn't expect that anytime soon, but I'm gonna keep going to those meetings just in case, they start talking about it again. But, I mean, I think we have the ability as a team to fix this. I just feel like we need to work as a team to do that. And if you had questions, if you still have questions or you have, things that you want to take lead on this, let's start working on that. These can't be executive sessions though, and I don't know if that's,
I'm kinda lost at why we could have an executive session that was canceled because it wasn't advertised quick enough.
no, that
We can't
executive
have an
session,
executive session now.
that executive session was related.
It wasn't gonna be an executive session, it was just gonna be a special meeting. You can, you can have special meetings, basically a workshop to discuss this issue, but it's a public meeting.
Okay, well, I mean, I don't care how we had the meeting, but we needed to have time together to talk about it. And whether I use the right terminology or not, is beside the point. We needed to have time to have some sessions amongst the 5 of us to discuss and figure out where we were with it. I learned more every time I attended one of those public meetings, not only from listening to the presentations 3 times in a row, but also listening from others in the community that have had some experience in various things about this, that pointed out that possibly we hadn't looked at all of the alternatives that were available to us in forming this. And as Steve pointed out, we didn't get any information about numbers or impact until 2 or 3 days before the first public meeting. And I don't know when Jeff Garatos came up with the numbers, but those could have been distributed out to us way before January, and they could have been a meeting about those numbers with him, a workshop or some kind of session before we even stepped in the door on the first public meeting.
They revised those numbers and I gave them to you guys as soon as I got their final revision. So I mean, I
So
understand.
you had initial numbers. So why
Sure.
weren't the initial numbers sent to us?
I mean, they told me that they were working on changing those. So I don't know that would have done you a lot of good.
Well, if you
Just
want us on
here's a
board
bunch of
from the-
numbers
if you want
that-
us on board with things, get us on board from the start, not whenever it's in the best interest to give us the information. And that's what this appears to be. If you had early numbers and you had early information, I would have liked to have that from the get-go rather than find out about it a few days before the first public meeting started. I'm not the sharpest tack on the block, I take some time to digest stuff, so that's what I would have liked.
All right, any other comments on fire territory public meetings? Okay, let's move on to new business. Town maintenance building. Jeff?
I'll take this one because I asked Jenny to put it on there.
Yeah.
I know I've had discussions with Doug, and I think I've had some with John and Pete about the current maintenance facility and how cramped some of the stuff is over there with the equipment inside. buying the new UTV, it's a little bigger than the existing one. If you're in there in the wintertime, there's not much room when you have the truck, the tractor, and the UTV in there. There was some discussion about possibly expanding that building. When we do it, there's no restroom in that current building, so adding some capabilities to that. So I threw it out there just to get some discussion going, because I don't know where to go with this next, if we want to get quotes to expand it, towards the fire building, or where we want to go with this. I think this goes with that budget workshop. We got to make some choices of what we want, so we can, both myself and or Pete, we can give you some good advice on costs and know where, when I'm out talking to people, what I'm asking for. Because this can go a whole number of different situations for the town to expand that building and make it a little bit more usable for all of us.
Can we use ARPA on that?
I can't answer that.
Yeah.
My gut would say no. Good. But again, that should be something you long-term plan for if we're going to expand that building. Obviously, we keep doing the annual maintenance that we need to do to keep that building usable for us.
Sorry, I didn't hear the question.
I was just asking if ARPA would be
ARPA.
something we could consider for that.
Yeah, and the problem, there's not a whole lot of room to add on down there
Correct.
with the fire tower there on the west side of the fire building.
Mhm.
That eliminates so much going across there.
Which I believe that's not in use anymore.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh.
that could potentially be,
Taken down.
yeah.
Different things were thrown out at me,
Yeah.
connecting the two buildings.
That was talked about at one time, adding on to the existing building, go over to the fire station.
It was just like a carport, though, that they proposed.
But it would be enclosed though, would have garage doors on each end, so.
Yeah.
I thought we proposed a carport one time.
Yeah.
Yeah, the discussions I had were, somebody was assuming it was heated and that there would be a bathroom in this new section, so if anybody was over there. And when you start adding the bathroom and heat into
Yeah.
that area, it adds cost to it rather quickly. And I think in this case, we need to be very cautious on spending the extra dollars to do that. But it's an important tool to have space to keep your equipment
Yeah.
inside, so it is ready in the middle of the winter when you need it. It's your equipment is inside, so it stays nice and lasts longer
Yeah.
as well. So I think, we think about it, and as we're discussing the budget, both this budget workshop and in future budget discussions, let's kind of think where we want to go with that.
I've always thought, of course, I don't know if it's available or not, that building across from D&D Wrecker Service, that used to be L&B guttering in there. That's all concrete in there, and they've got doors you can drive in there, but the guy up in Brownsburg owns a Wrecker Service. I don't know if they'd be interested in selling it or leasing it or what. But that building's already got heat in it and water and restroom facilities. We might look into to see if that's something they might make a deal with us or something.
And I don't even know what size that building is. It seems to me, just looking at it on the
Big.
outside, it's much larger than what our current needs are.
Yeah.
All right, any other discussions on that? All right, keep us informed, Jeff, thank you. So, speaking of fire department, we have neglected to do a contract with them this year. I know usually we put that in with contracts that we do with our salary ordinance stuff, and since we didn't do extensive contracts again this year, we skipped that part. So Jenny typed up basically the same contract we had last year, and so we didn't change anything on that. Says we'll pay fire department of Liberty Township $42,000 in 2 equal installments, and then they'll provide for us rescue and emergency equipment certified EMTs for the town till December 31st of 2022. Did you add in this about the building yet, or, okay? We noticed there wasn't any information in last year's contract about them using our building, so we found an older contract where it talked about that, and we just put that language in here if anybody wants to look through that. So basically they're gonna occupy the building, use it for they're gonna do upkeep on the inside. We would take care of the overall building structure ourselves. So same language that we've had in the past, but. Any questions or other discussion on the contract?
I make a motion that we pay them the $42,000 divided by 2.
Okay, got a first motion?
Are they gonna keep functioning as a coverage after the contract ends until the new contract is signed?
I don't know, I haven't talked to them about the fact that we forgot to do a contract, so I don't think that they're even aware that we didn't do this.
Yeah.
Well, now they're up there watching, but, so I don't know that logistically anything's gonna change, it's just a matter of the fact that we gotta get this contract,
Yeah.
approved and signed if that's what we wanna do. And then, we'll just have to make sure the end of winter, or the end of the year upcoming, that we renew or do a contract for next year. But,
Can we use any of that ARPA money to increase their contract, or can we not?
yes, public safety, pay is part of ARPA. So that would be one option for some of the
I'll
ARPA
read.
money.
One thing that was discussed was, an interlocal agreement with Plainfield, and I put that in my email to you as well. I didn't know if that was, you know, if this was gonna supplant that, or if that was gonna be in consideration with, in conjunction with this, or if you wanted to use ARPA money, if this was something you wanted to take action on tonight, or, if you're still exploring issues.
Okay, that brings up a good point. Probably if we're gonna entertain that, we'd need to have some more information and discussion. Does anybody wanna,
Yeah, I guess I'm just,
Go down
it
that
sounds
road.
like you're still in the deliberative process, and, you know, do you wanna, if we haven't talked to the volunteer fire department yet, do we know that all parties are on board with this, and
I do not know.
Yeah.
So I don't have any answers to that yet. So I'd probably
You
have
wanna
to,
table it then till you talk, get them?
yeah, and if, Jeff, I can give this, to you to meet with, Chief Russell in the next couple weeks. And then also, I mean, how do we wanna go about that other option that you're saying of,
talking to
I know,
Plainfield?
talking to Plainfield on that, does that, can we just have Jeff contact
Yeah, I
their,
think maybe at the town manager level,
contact Andrew or Nate and ask them what they would need for that kind of a discussion?
Yep, I'll reach out to them.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll table this, until next meeting then. Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda, committee to study FDLT paramedic and EMT employment. Leanne, I believe this was put on here for you, by you?
Yeah, so, I think we're all in agreement that we should form some sort of committee to get this started. And if we're gonna do a territory, we have to have a decision by January of 23, correct?
The next time frame that we could put the proposal out to public would be from January 1st to March 31st. So the way that the DLGF sets that up is fire territories always have to be, the process of that always has to be taken care of in that time frame, that first quarter of every year. So yes, so January by, that 1st of January, we'd have to have a plan of here's the dates for public hearing, here's the notifications that we're sending out, that kind of stuff, yes.
So if we were able to get a committee together and start having like monthly meetings, let's say in May, if we could get it finished up by December, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, that'd be 8 meetings. And I think that would be a positive thing to do.
How do we do that so we can all be involved in that?
You can notice a public meeting, it'd be a
Yeah.
special meeting. Greg Garatos said he'd be happy to do workshops, I think he'd be getting like October, to help inform the public. He threw that out there.
Could we title them a workshop and have it as that format anyway, instead of it being a formal meeting of us sitting up here staring.
Yeah.
So we could do that before this meeting
Sure.
type thing?
I think another thing we try to help the department with would be recruiting. I think they have limited means on how to recruit and get people to volunteer, and I think we could do some things to help with that. And one of my thoughts was to possibly offer some kind of a scholarship or something just to folks who volunteer, serve so much time that we would somehow or another give it some kind of a scholarship for them to extend their course of study in the field or something.
So I'm envisioning, and I'm just throwing this out there, that on the committee would be one of us, maybe 2 of us, one of us, one of the township, somebody from the fire department, and then like 4 people from the community. That'd be a 7-person committee.
Yeah, I think you get those 4 other people that would be willing to come. After hearing people speak down there, I'm sure some people would like that.
They would also be open to the public, so
Yeah.
anybody could attend,
Right.
not just the 7
Right.
committee members, so it would just make it, obviously, as you,
And would
Come
that
up with
give us
agendas.
enough time then? 8 months, 8 meetings to get, you think, to get this figured out?
oh yeah,
Starting in
I,
May, or you said something about October?
That was just something that Garatos mentioned, starting public.
I'm sure we could reach out to Greg and he would, he lives here in Liberty Township, so he's not far away. We'd invite him to all of them, and then he could just decide when he wants to start working on his part of it.
So it'd be my suggestion that we try to start it in May, that our May meeting, have a workshop then before our May meeting and invite people who are interested, and then we form the committee from those people that show up in May.
Okay, so that's next month. So,
That would be on our website, it would be out on our sign.
So, if I hear what you're saying, or I may be constructing this in my own brain, but the May meeting would be open forum, which we could select hopefully people from that who volunteer or whatever moving forward with the committee. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't have this completely figured out in my brain, especially since I don't really know Robert's rules of order, and so I don't know how, if we would be voting for the people on the committee, or how that would actually.
well, my own personal fear is the few people that show up will be your committee meeting members, cause I don't see this room filling up wall to wall.
I think if that happens,
Yeah.
at least we've got it on record that we made attempts. We did have a committee that did meet. And at that point, then we have to make a decision based on what we think is best at that point. We've given them an opportunity. I feel like necessarily they had the opportunity on this go round. But I feel like we would be able to stand up and say, no, we had a meeting here, here, and here. Here's the minutes. This is what we talked about. And y'all didn't show up.
And the meeting minutes and the meeting information and what's being discussed could also be posted quickly afterwards on our new website. It could even have it could even have its own sub area of the.
And whoever's running the committee could broadcast it on our YouTube channel. I mean, this is free. We can use it however we want. So this would be another avenue of if they weren't able to make the meeting, they can go on after. We usually, for our meetings, like right now we have 5 viewers, which that's pretty typical, but by the end of the next week, it'll say we've had 56 views. So people are using this resource. They're going back after the fact and watching our meetings and stuff. So that'll also be part of that you're able to advertise. We've made this available.
I think we heard that a lot when people were talking about the 3 meetings that it wasn't on YouTube. So people are looking for that. So that might be, good to be able to have that committee on there.
Yeah, I actually looked and tried to see how I could do that, but I couldn't get any cell signal on down there, so I wouldn't have been able to put it. But all right, so May 12th is our regular business meeting. So you want to have the first meeting for this May 12th at 6 o'clock here in this building.
Correct.
Okay. Everybody good with that? Got any other questions?
I don't want to beat a dead horse on the fire territory, but I do want to drop back to that for a second. And I speak for myself, and I would bet my paycheck that I speak for the other 3 that the decision that we made on this had really nothing negative to do with you. I understand your feeling, but I think as far as the team that we have set up here, that we all appreciate that. And this was just a little bump in the road, but should not be, in my opinion, taken personally by you. But I certainly understand how you could. I think, my sentiments on how I feel you run the board, and I don't think that was in any way, shape, or form directed at you personally. So I'm sorry if it came across that way. It really wasn't that. So, but that's I just wanted to add that to to the whole thing.
I appreciate you saying that. Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda, I guess I shouldn't have closed my calendar. We need to start working on next year's budget. I know some of the things that Jenny and I learned from last year's budget workshop were very valuable, and I'd like to, make sure and see that you guys get to glean that also. So we want to work towards some of that information, figuring out some better ways to tackle our budget issues. And so we want to look forward to some dates next month or beginning of June type area to start hammering out next year's budget. Anybody got any glaring dates that won't work for them? And,
Don't we usually like to do that on the hottest day of the year?
yeah, same day as our
Right after we have
trash.
the trash pickup.
Sit out there and get
Yeah.
sunburned at the same time we're talking about the budget.
Pretty much good any time.
Yeah.
Whatever works for Jenny.
I'm pretty easy.
I mean, we've kind of filled up the 12th already with
Yeah.
the new committee and then the regular business meeting. How about the week after on the 19th of May? No? You?
No.
You said
I'm easy. I'm easy, but no.
19th of May. Not good for anybody else. Okay, sorry. We'll go somewhere else
Yeah.
then.
The next, no.
No?
Yeah, the next week would be okay.
The
We're going to
26th?
Me and Judy are going to Texas.
On the 26th?
No, we'll be back on the
I
26th.
thought she was trying to plan this on
Yeah.
a day when she's going to be in Texas. Sounds like something I would do. All right. Is everybody good with the 26th then? 26th of May. Have a
Okay.
budget workshop.
What date is that? I mean, what day is that?
Thursday.
A Thursday?
Sorry.
At 7.
When you're going to be in Texas?
Sorry, what was it?
26th at. Does everybody want to make that in the same time as our normal meetings, or you want to try earlier?
I can get here anytime.
You're not going to be mowing lawns that day?
Not quit it, folks.
26th, how about 6 o'clock? 6 p.m.
Okay.
on the 26th. That's
Okay.
a Thursday in May. We'll start our budget process. Very good. Any other questions on budget stuff?
I have a question.
Okay.
We're not gonna be using any, let me find it. Grant fund match money this year?
We dedicated some of the grant fund money for the comp plan.
For the
The
what?
comprehensive
Yeah,
plan,
remember the plan.
all right, which we haven't heard back from Mike Klein Peter on that. We probably,
Yeah, I don't think that's opened up yet.
oh, I thought Okra did that every quarter.
Yeah,
You mind reaching out to him and find out? So if Mike Klein Peter comes through with a grant for the comprehensive plan, then we would need to use some of that.
Well, we've got 25,000 in the park fund, but because the legal fees for the fire territory were so much, I have to transfer money, so I was just gonna transfer money for the rest of the year. And that was gonna take about 20,000 of that. And if that's the case, then we don't need, we can't do the transfer of funds tonight, I'll have to find it somewhere else.
I mean, if if we push back the comprehensive plan another year, that probably wouldn't be the
It's not the end of the world.
right. I mean, the planning commission and BZA are working on ideas for that already, so. Good with that?
Yeah.
To kinda recommend to them, let's push the comprehensive plan back 1 year and
Now,
use this,
let,
go
let me
ahead.
ask a question.
Okay.
But if we go ahead and take the money out of the, parks, transfer it over,
No,
is
we've
that-
got 25,000 in the general fund and 25,000 in the park fund. So if we did get a grant that was only 25,000 match, we'd have enough for it. We'd have it out of the park fund.
Because I think we set 10 grand aside for the comp plan, if I remember right. I think. It's been, we did it in December, I thought. I have to go back in my notes and see. I know we,
I think you're right, I think it was 10,000 that we said we would kick into as part of that grant match for the comprehensive plan.
because that's the only way we'll get enough points to actually probably get grants if we keep in a match.
All right.
It was close. Mike was not, he was not thrilled with the points, spread on that. We barely creeped over that line for Okra, but.
Well, my thinking was if we had to take money out of the park to go towards something else, and then something came up at the park, we could use some of that ARPA money, couldn't we? To pay for anything that was,
excuse
would
me.
have to be done at the park?
I don't, probably not.
Probably not,
Probably not.
okay. I'm gonna spend that ARPA money.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's, until you get caught, right?
Yeah.
Then you have to pay it back.
Or you retire.
All right, so does that help you out, Jenny, on what we're gonna do with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on budget and money? Next thing, new banner hardware. I got a quote from a gentleman at Downtown Decorations. Some of the issues that we had with our banners that we put up, the wind tore several of them down, or 3 or 4 of them anyway. And so I was looking at some of the different options with banner, the spring-loaded brackets, and that's what I got this quote for. And the mount itself has a spring mechanism in it that when the wind hits the banner, it allows that bracket to move, and then the wind can wash past the banner. And so that's kind of where this quote comes from. It's just, I was kind of looking at ways to preserve these banners. One of the ones, I don't think we've gotten able to put it back up, but it got
Yeah,
wind really-
The whole thing is broken.
kind of mangled that up bad.
Mhm.
So, and I mean, the family spent $109 on those banners. I didn't want them getting destroyed, and I want them to have a memorial
Yeah.
banner to reflect their military veteran. So this was kind of the mindset, the idea of why I got these, this quote on these types of banners. This quote is just for the base with the spring in it. Doesn't include the poles or any of the other aspects. The other part that Pete might appreciate this is that the spring is also a tensioner for that pole, and so you won't have to use those tie downs.
So you're saying that it gives spring tension up and down and sideways?
Yes. So you won't have to use those
Right.
or the rubber tie downs to hold those tension on the end of those poles anymore.
But you would have to use the poles that go with these springs, right?
Yeah, the fiberglass poles that we already use
Yeah.
would fit in this same bracket.
Well.
He told me, I asked him about that on the phone when I was talking to him. But
Are those all in good shape?
no,
No.
they're not.
No.
They break real easy. Which I'm hoping with these spring-loaded brackets, they won't break as easy because the give that prevents that wind from just smacking the side of that banner. That's my hope anyway.
I say we get the band installation ones.
The bands unfortunately don't fit around our bigger light poles.
Yeah,
The
that's
bands
why
fit
we
around the
can't-
little metal ones, but the bigger wood utility poles don't. It won't. Which I don't know why you couldn't like use two, but they don't. They don't offer that option.
So you still have those.
Right. So you have to put your 3-inch lag bolts in there. Any other questions or discussion on banner hardware?
What's the quote on that?
$2,430 plus $145 shipping.
Wow.
And that would give us 18 sets.
Plus 145 shipping?
Yeah.
Yeah, what did you motion, Steve?
I don't think Steve motioned. He just
He told-
mentioned the.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was
He was
saying that we
reading.
should, but so this is gonna be an ongoing program. We're gonna have these for years to come, the banners.
We have 9. The orders for 9 have been placed for next year. So come Memorial Day of 2022, we'll have 9 new ones. So I'm not too sure why we didn't get the same number we got last year, but we got 9 for next year.
And so
But we
can-
do have, spring banners and Christmas banners also.
That'll fit on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those will fit. Yeah, those will fit on the poles with these hardware things as well.
Yeah.
And and if we wanted to look at even other more customized banners that say "Welcome to Clayton" or
Different
That's
material.
pictures of Clayton on them or something like that. This company makes those also, but I didn't get a quote on those. What?
Our committee meeting,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, because we could put it in the
Up on-
budget for next year.
on the on the post.
If they could have flames shoot out of the post, that might actually draw more attention to the committee too.
Any other questions or discussions on the banner brackets?
And we can have money for this?
$2,430 plus $145 of shipping.
We have $4,000 in street signs and posts, and it's it's a post,
Streets on a post.
so you could take it out of that.
Okay.
you need a motion?
Yes.
I make a motion. We pick up the lag wolf set then?
Yeah, the light bulb
Yeah.
installation ones. Okay, I got a first motion.
I'll second.
Got a second motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries. Looks like town engineer discussion is next.
Good evening. I threw this one out on the agenda because any project we do with roads or drainage or storm sewer or stuff like that typically is involving an engineer of some time. We've used a number of engineering firms for projects. GRW did the sewer plant. We have HWC doing the PAMP and the road, but yet we don't have anybody. If I get a washout or something like that, a culvert washout or something, I can just pick up the phone and call. We're not consolidated to one engineer. If somebody comes to us and makes a proposal, like a developer or something like that, that we need to talk with. Last year you had an agreement with Westler Engineer to do some of that kind of on call. I don't think you really used them much for that at all. They were doing some stormwater stuff, but we've kind of moved from them. I'd like to kind of consolidate back into one engineer that we can have as more of a town engineer or a resource, have them on a retainer, so when we do have a need, and I'm just gonna use the culvert under Western Avenue, you know, on the ditch, the bottom of that is completely gone if you've not noticed that while you're walking. Before we do anything improvements on that section of Western Avenue, we're gonna have to do something with that culvert. Is it an immediate need? No, but it's a need that we need to address in the near future, but we haven't addressed it, and there's some other small projects like that we could use it. So I wanted to get your thoughts on going through a process of getting an engineer that we work with and try to work with the same engineer on a longer term basis, so they get to know what the town has and can come and recommend projects to us that are reasonable. Somebody that's going to tell you, you don't need to go off and do X, Y, Z, because that's really more expensive than what you need. You can get away with just doing this over here. There's a lot of good firms out there that could help us with some of those stuff, the planning on those activities. I just wanted to put it out there, see what your comments were before I moved forward with putting any type of proposal. And I'd want to have a couple of you to help me interview a engineering firm that we want to work with on a long-term basis, and then make a recommendation to council if we go that way. But I wanted to get your thoughts on where we are with our various engineers. You know, we're essentially at that point where we're finishing a lot of projects, and we need to see where we want to go in the future.
Would this end up saving us some money in the long
It
run?
potentially
If we
could.
just had one person, they might kind of give us a little bit of a break, and we wouldn't have to
Correct.
pay so much to.
Mhm. You know, and I'll give you an example. As we're doing the PAM and updating the roads, you know, a lot of that stuff can go into the GIS. Most of these, you know, if you've got a relationship with them, they can help us maintain that GIS. As they update their plans, they can give us in the right format where we can put it into the IAM GIS and keep our files updated pretty easily as well. So having a relationship with somebody like that could, you know, help us maintain that, help us if we got a manhole issue where I need somebody to come out and tell me how I need to fix this, and say, you know, draw it on a nice sheet of paper or one sheet, say, here's some simple specs to fix this manhole that maybe, you know, you had some bricks wash out on it or something, where I don't need a full set of specs, but I need just a little guidance to tell contractor A, B, and C all the same stuff, where, you know, I'm not the expert in some of that.
Are you looking for a firm or rather a private individual?
I would look for a firm. My preference would be look for a more local firm, maybe a smaller local firm than a big firm. You're not going to find even the big firms that are going to have 100% of the services. And I'll just use most of your engineering firms, small and big, don't necessarily have an environmental side of things. That's typically a specialty you'll see side by side. Some of them do, some of them don't. But it's not something you use very often. So I want a civil firm that can do water, sewer, roads, some storm stuff, help me with some of the, you know, ADA. Maybe we have a question in the park, we want to add a gazebo to the park, or we want to do something and I need just an opinion on, are we doing this right? You know, is this a crazy idea that we need to run by, that, you know, just part of our long-term planning. Because right now, you know, long-term, you had a design for more improvements at the sewer treatment plant. I think the consensus of working with you, talking to George, and we're probably not gonna go with the way that's designed because of the cost. You know, you went as far as you wanted to go, and it really became a cost side of things why you didn't do the bigger project. But there are still very real things at the sewer treatment plant that we ultimately need to address. George is gonna talk about the Argo Monster tonight. I think it's commonly known that somewhere in the near future, we need to do some electrical upgrades down there. We're gonna need some help to piecemeal that. And even if we had GRW do it, they'd have to go back into the plans and piecemeal those stuff out for us. So, and we can take those plans that we have are ours, we can pick and choose even from those plans. But again, it's something to think about. We can talk about it in our budget workshop. It's nothing we have to decide tonight. So,
Do these engineering firms typically have like a standard presentation that they would make to a town of, hey, let us do all this work for you, and here's what it would entail, and here's what we charge?
they typically do, and they say, here's our charge, and, you know, a lot of them will have a retainer where it's an up to, on an hourly basis, type of fee to be at your cost. So you know what your hourly rate is with them, and they just charge you by the hour if you do hire them. But yes, most of them do have would have a presentation to do to a committee, so that, I'll just say, Leanne and you know, two of you kind of say, I'll work with Jeff to interview him, and then we'll make a recommendation to council, type of a situation. And so it's just not my choice, it's got council involvement, but not necessarily the full council to go through that interview process. I would say that I would want to interview no more than 4 candidates. And there are 2 really good small local firms that I'd want to make sure are in that pool, that have done work for most of them. Some of them have done work for the town in the past, some of them have done work for developers that have worked in the area in the past, so they're familiar with the region. So, but if you know,
My suggestion is, set up the proposals, get
okay,
names of, 4 or 5 firms that wanna present us with something, and
mhm. I'll do that, and we'll set up some times, and we can work with council and see who wants to be part of that with me.
okay. Thank you. Jenny, transfer funds, next item on the agenda.
Yes, we'll transfer the funds. It's from grant fund match 20,000 to legal services, cause we've already paid out 7,000 just for our attorney for the year. So I just kinda figured out 3 more times that is 21,000, so that's how I came up with that amount. And then, I'm transferring the other 5,000 to purchase and renovation to help pay for the carpet here, because the police department took a little bit more than what I thought it was going to. So that one's pretty well busted too. So it's $25,000 from grant fund match to legal services and purchase and renovation.
Well, I make a motion that you transfer the $25,000 to legal funds.
Alright, I got a first motion,
I'll second.
got a second motion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion carries, we transfer funds. Alright, Jeff, you're back up again.
Sure.
Town manager, notes.
Town manager notes. Well, I got some good news, and I think you're all aware of it, but I wanted to introduce him into the public today. Pat Patterson has joined us as our town maintenance manager, so people will shortly start seeing him out and around town, so doing things. So I think his first chore is to help tomorrow as we move some furniture and some supplies to clear out this building so we can get new carpet. Because carpet layers are going to get here around 9 o'clock on Monday, between 9 and 9:30. So we need to move at least all of our small things out of their way so they can put carpet in. So
Excellent.
just wanted to introduce him to
Yeah.
all of you and welcome Pat to town. He lives in town.
Okay, got a question on moving the furniture. The pews are gonna be moved when they put the carpet down, I assume.
Yes.
Are they gonna move them?
They're responsible for the pews, the heavy
Okay.
furniture.
Yeah.
What we've got to do is like the chairs,
Okay.
the file folders that are on desks, the
Yeah.
pens, pencils, all the smaller loose
Okay.
stuff. They're going to move all the big stuff.
I'll say, cause that's pain. I've done it.
And because we're going with carpet squares, like I'll just use the example of this room.
Yeah.
They can take pews from one side and
Yeah.
move them and do half the room and move stuff back. So they just don't want to move all the small stuff. So
Yeah.
we're going to do that. Probably use some of the chief has let us use some of the police side so we don't have to move everything to the basement. But I've taken some stuff to the basement that probably needs to go down there anyhow to more longer term storage.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to getting carpet next week. I know it's going to impact Jenny's work schedule a little bit. So, yes, and Jenny, to your question to them, yes, they'll work with us to try to get
Okay.
your
good.
office done early so you can move back in.
Okay.
So, that's coming. Lambert Park with the new playground equipment. I've not heard really any comments from the public. I hope you guys talked to some more of the public and it's going well. I've seen kids playing on the new equipment over there. Doug asked me to reach out to our supplier about the next phase of that. So I have done that. I've not heard back from them yet. We want to verify the quote is, hopefully it's not gone up too much, but everything is going up right now. So I've reached out. As soon as I hear back, I will send council a note. Here's the updated pricing for what we have planned. And that's in this year's budget. It'll be in next year's
Next
budget.
year. We just paid for this
That's
year's.
right, so.
Yeah.
But we are thinking long-term
Right.
multi-phases, so.
And they let us pay for that after it got delivered, so.
Well, we paid half,
Oh, okay.
and then we paid the other half when it
Gotcha.
got delivered.
So if that, I mean, you know, and we may need to amend that and wait until January to actually start with the next phase, if that's
Mhm.
where we're at.
Yeah,
This will help us with our budgeting process
Yeah.
as well, so it's good to reach out to them and see where their pricing's going. So if
Okay.
it- Vandalia Trail, I think you know the Plan Commission met with the county park. We met with the Moraine over there, and the current plan is to come along 500 to right where the self-storage in those houses, about the area where the town currently has an easement across there for the sewer, bring the trail into Lambert Park at that location. That's where we're thinking about making that connection, and then I talked with him about how we would connect into the downtown, so he's working on a couple ideas for us, how we would bring them from Lambert Park into Pizza King, or Clayton Cafe once they get Clayton Cafe open, so we're working through that. And as we go on, we'll do that. I've met with our town insurance agent. Our renewal's coming up. That will be on your agenda next month. Your renewal is June 1st. So I'm going through the process of all the paperwork and checking all those boxes. Since we're buying a new Kubota, I'll have to make sure that gets added to that list, so. And then
The little building that John's talking about down
Yeah.
here.
well,
Yeah.
if we add it,
Yeah.
we'll add it once we know that takes place.
Yeah.
So, hopefully, adding small things won't change your premium, but we need to keep those lists accurate. There's some old equipment on there that we need to probably take off that we don't use. I'll just use an example of the sprayer that used to go in the back of used to treat the roads with that we've not used. If we're not using it, why do we need to have it on our insurance policy if we're talking about getting rid of it? So those types of things, making sure we're all up to date on that and all the other insurances. Finally, the Halbersons submitted a permit to renovate that, I'll call it the middle building, that old house that's kind of just north of where the Copper Pot shop is, between that and the Gypsy's Den. So they've submitted a permit to redo that old structure. I have not yet issued the permit, but I'll get that done here in the next few days, issue that permit for them. So you'll be seeing some more work in the downtown. It's great to see the work that's going on, and I look forward to continuing working with our downtown business owners to make our downtown look nice.
Did you give everybody the update on paving Pennsylvania Street and the sidewalk issue?
I sent an email with some of that. The sidewalk issue was gonna be in the
I
next
thought you
two.
replied to me, but maybe you sent it to everybody. Did everybody get that?
Did I send that to everybody, or did I just send that to Doug?
Don't remember.
Because I asked if Citywide was getting around to paving Pennsylvania yet, and is
I didn't see that.
Walls Construction.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wallace Construction was gonna try to do it in the next 2 weeks, and Citywide Paving was before the end of the month. And it could get pushed a week if we get some string of bad weather,
Okay,
but they're both getting closer.
excellent.
And once I have firm dates, I will send an email out to everybody.
Yeah, I mean, we'll want to post that on the sign and the website so people know, you know, that there's construction going on. But, any other questions for town manager from this group? All right, Chief Oliphant, you're up.
The only thing I have, Assistant Town Marshal Reminder, going well, he's going through training, kind of on his own some too, so we're still kind of getting all that squared away. I expect it to be wrapped up really soon. The other thing that I have, the radar signs, they seem to be working really well. I don't know if the board noticed it, but I feel like people coming into town are slowing down from both directions. But I'd like to see us explore maybe purchasing 2 more, one to put just north of the flower shop, and then one to put kind of, I don't know, southbound, as people are going out of town, kind of halfway. I feel like it works really well, maybe we could look at getting 2 more and keep people slow both directions, slow down. I don't know how the board feels about it, but.
Maybe next year.
And I said, budget
Maybe
meeting.
next year. Yeah, I mean, if they're working great. I know, when I'm coming southbound from Danville, I'm still on that hill by the house and it picks me up that far away. So I just, you know, when you're looking at the data, I'm in a 50-mile-an-hour zone still.
Well, the data, on the data, it only will log the speed that you're going when you're past it.
Oh.
It's not good, that's
I'm
not
like-
good.
And do you
Oh,
know
great.
who it is? I mean,
Takes a picture of you.
to take my car.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't track that. It does track both directions if I ask it to, that's how I got that information when people are going northbound. Because I do feel like we do have a lot of people going northbound, they speed up way before they should. You know, that if we only push this 1 more, I think it would be effective to put it somewhere around that bridge. Just past the flower shop, West Crawford.
I think one, like you suggested, halfway here on 39.
Right, that's something around that bridge
Yeah.
would be really effective. And I don't know, I mean, I've had these signs in the past, and I don't know if the fact that it's got wording at the bottom, it says, slow down, warning, thank you. I don't know if that makes it work better, but I feel like these work the
Yeah.
best that we've
Yeah,
ever.
that one coming in off of heading north seems to be working, unless you spell RAYS, but other than that, it seems to be working.
Yeah, I think from a budget standpoint, that may need to be a purchase
Yeah.
next year,
I
but
might be able to take the funds out of my budget.
You'll have to look and see. We pretty well,
Yeah.
for it only be in April, it's kind of scary.
which I did have a request. So we got a bill from D&D Auto for the Tahoe, but nobody knew what it was for. So I guess if you guys are sending a vehicle over, try and let Jenny know ahead of time this is going over for this work. But it was kind of like a surprise, like, oh wait,
And then right below it, I just found it right before the meeting, there was another one for the
The car.
white car.
Yeah, it had brakes. I think we're still in our budget.
Right, just a matter of, just a
Yeah,
quick
it just
email
kinda
saying, hey, I'm
surprised
sending
me.
this over for maintenance and there's an oil leak or there's
Yeah,
a,
there was a massive
Because-
there's a massive oil leak and, a jet leak. I mean, the vehicle's 2011, so it's got some age on it.
sure,
Yeah,
So it's starting to really,
right.
have some repairs.
Yeah, it's just a courtesy heads up to the clerk treasurer and the deputy clerk treasurer, this is gonna be coming across your desk for
In
those vehicles.
they actually, I had them repair that, and they didn't tell me how much it was gonna be until after they repaired it too, so that's not typical how they operate. Usually
Well,
they
there you
call
go,
me.
you can pass my request on to them now.
Usually they call me and say,
Hey.
hey, this is gonna be set amount of dollars, and
Sure.
I usually, so I found that one out after it was already done, so.
yeah, cause it was like $1,400 for both of them.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah,
But yeah,
just right
usually
at
I
14.
do get, that oil leak was really bad. It was just the age of the vehicle.
Okay.
But fortunately, we caught before it didn't get much.
Any, anything else from you? Any other questions for Chief Oliphant? All right, George Burnett, you're up next.
All right. So, 3 items for now.
You're one of the ones that people say, I can never hear George.
Yes, I'm here.
Step up there, please.
Step on up.
I can never hear George, people always tell me. Is he even there?
He's here. All right. So the Auger Monster quote finally got with B.O. Anderson. So they're in the process of working on getting me a quote, not only for the device but also demoing and putting it in, because that original cost, I didn't realize that $85,000 we talked about was just for the machine. It had nothing to do with demo costs, taking out the old one, putting the new one in. So this will probably be quite a bit more than that, but we'll see.
They'll probably deliver it here, set it on the front door.
Yeah. So I'm checking all the boxes. I want to make sure it's exactly what we want, the whole 9 yards. So that's probably going to take a while to move through this process and get that sorted out. Jeff and I was talking about televising because we've been talking about this rock that's stuck. Supposedly when they originally did televising and cameraing. So I talked to A Septic and they said they could come down and they could do 200 feet. And I think we talked before, it's like 100 feet up from the manhole up. We
It
think.
was very close. I
Yeah.
remember when Coley Contractors did it.
Yeah.
And it's not stuck, it's just it was a big
Right.
enough rock that their camera couldn't
see
get
it.
around it. He
Yeah.
tried going up on the pipe a little bit and
Right.
it just,
So they won't really be able to move it. It would just be a better
Sure.
way to see what is this thing really.
right.
So they said probably $350 to go up in there and do it. So if we want to approve to do that, they could come out, take their stuff, go up in there, and at least give us an answer on what is it we're dealing with here. And then we would know, probably if it's in a line, nobody's going to be able to move the thing. You're probably going to have to dig from the top down to it and remove the obstruction. So,
Okay.
thoughts?
At 350, isn't that just something
I think so.
you can do?
Yeah.
I mean,
It's more bringing it to the board, you know, we're gonna spend it. We'd said at one time, I think we'd set a limit of like $5,000. Anything that happens, just do it. But if you guys are okay, we'll go ahead and do it. Third thing is I got some dye coming, so we can do a dye test on storm drains to see if anything's going and making its way into the system for the sanitary sewer. So that's on its way. I already ordered it. So once that gets here, we'll do a couple dye tests and see what we can find. Hopefully nothing. So, right. That's all I got.
Very good, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for George from the board? Okay,
All right.
all right, Assistant Town Manager Pete. Yes.
Front and center. Mr. Angle.
I have to remember.
Yeah.
Mr. Walsh said he wanted a purchase order or a letterhead from the town.
Okay,
on-
letterhead.
on
And we don't do purchase orders
No,
here.
no. I told him, I didn't think we did, so he said a letterhead
No,
would do,
no.
saying that we would purchase it. And the only other thing that I have purchased coal patch, so we can get started on the chug holes as soon as it quits raining.
Real good.
Okay.
Any questions for Pete from the group? My little, erector set fix this will be up on the salt spreader out there.
It worked. I'm gonna get a sawhorse and put it under there.
Pete took the salt spreader out of the town vehicle and placed it on a plastic sawhorse, and it
Which-
destroyed the plastic.
Well, it worked underneath the meat spreader all last year. Maybe it got weak.
Yeah.
One's from the fire territory.
Yeah, that's all I've got.
Okay,
You
thank
got
you.
somebody-
Sign underneath my name on those two.
Any other questions?
There's 4 of
Get
them
somebody.
there.
All right, so we have somebody who's signed in on public comments. Under here.
Yeah, there should be 4 of them.
Hi, Jay Thompson, small town rep on the Communications Advisory Board. Was hoping to report the results of our meeting in March, but it got canceled because it was the same day as the Walmart warehouse fire.
Oh.
So there was just a little bit busy that day. You may be aware of this already if you were on the county council meeting last week, but they did authorize a reduction in the 911 center budget from like 0.1% to 0.05. So they're bumping up public safety funds for the town. So we are scheduled to get an additional 44,000 in Pittsboro. North Salem and Liston are getting about 5,600 each, so I would imagine you guys will probably be getting something similar than that. I don't know if you've heard from your county council rep yet, but that was one of the discussion items. They also voted about $602,000 for extra radios for the fire department. So I know Don Mason's been working with all the chiefs in the area. So you may be getting some more radios. I think North Salem was getting 4 and Liston was probably getting 4 as well, I believe. So that's good news. Tornado sirens, the county is looking at taking over maintenance and replacing some. They're having to replace the alerting software from the communications center, and apparently 9 sirens will no longer be able to be activated. So they're looking at replacing those and also expanding in the west part of the county. I don't know, do you have good coverage down here? Because apparently.
Yeah, we have one siren right by the fire station.
Okay, so apparently they're looking at adding sirens out west to provide full coverage for the county. That's one thing. The council's been talking about it, the commissioners talked about it, and then Don Mason's supposed to come to us at the Communications Advisory Board. So we're hoping to have a meeting either late this month or early next month. So hopefully I'll have more news for you. On a note from the town of Pittsboro, we just dropped Baker Tilly and went with FSG because we thought that they were more responsive and had better information. So I know that you guys, I think Jenny mentioned one meeting last year where she'd called them first week of July, and I think we were at late August, and she hadn't had a return call.
Yeah.
I had similar experiences with them, so, Greg Garitos has been at these meetings for the fire territory, and so I think hopefully we've been more responsive, and just to let you know that we made a switch. As far as engineering, we had been using RQAW for a lot. They sent us a 250-page revised construction manual for our town that's probably been 4 or 5 months ago now. I read every page. I found a number of typos. I found some errors like referring to the Hamilton County engineer versus Hancock, because apparently they did copy and paste, but forgot to do search and replace just to get it updated for us. So there was also some very outdated information about televising sewer lines. They required a mobile TV studio that could hold 3 people, and you had to have, the data had to be on a CD. There was nothing about any USB drive or an FTP server with an MP4 file or whatever. So be aware when you get your documents from the engineering firm, you probably ought to have somebody go over and look for stuff like that. And also, I can check with our wastewater treatment plant operator, Chris York. We have a video camera system that apparently Brownsburg and maybe Liston have borrowed on occasion. So I think it's only a 200-foot. It's an old-fashioned black and white. They still have to power up a generator because the TV runs off 110, won't even do 12 volts. So, but that could be an option if you wanted me to get with Jeff and see if maybe she could help you guys out, save you a couple
AAA
bucks.
or AA septic, they do a pretty good job.
Okay,
with,
I just
camera
thought it-
inspections for us. So
Yeah, so,
I think we'll be fine.
okay. So that's what I got for now.
Thank you.
All right, don't have anything else on the agenda. Do we have any items from the board? Okay, Dave?
The new website will go live next Wednesday,
All right.
hopefully. Jeff sat in on training, Doug sat in on training as far as being able to edit, so they'll have that set up. We're gonna do some work on it this weekend and up until Wednesday, but then on Wednesday, the present site will not exist anymore, so when you go to our link, you'll get to the new site, so.
Very good.
And we can
Yeah,
add to that as needed.
Training, I felt like the training was very user-friendly. It went smooth. They even let me get on and play with stuff. They shared the screen, and
Yep.
so it was great. I liked the calendar feature and the.
I haven't done it yet.
Well, no, we have, after it goes live, we have 2 weeks to continuous training, sessions, without an extra cost, so
Okay.
we can, I can send you the link again and,
I think I still have it saved on the computer.
you know,
Because I looked at the calendar and couldn't decide which day I wanted to take that much time out of my life.
yeah, it's about an hour or 15 hour, 30 minutes.
15 hours.
Hour 50.
It was about 15 hours or so. No, it was less than an hour for me.
Jeff was doing it, I was listening as he was doing
One of
it.
the things that I liked about it is they do have little videos that if you get stuck, you can go through their video tutorial
Yeah.
and get some help that way. So they've got these snippets that are saying if you're trying to do ads, you can find some of that stuff.
Yeah.
So they're really trying to make it user friendly for you.
I think it's been a good thing.
All right. Anything else, Dave? Leanne?
Nope.
John?
Nope.
Steve? Jenny?
Well, kind of.
Okay.
I just wondered, Brad Butler's wife died. Should we send flowers or a donation to him for things that come up, or?
I think we should send flowers, cause he used to be on the
Okay.
board.
Appropriate. Sunflowers?
Yeah. You know anybody that does that?
No, I don't. Let me think.
Greg's probably local.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe she'll give us a break.
Yeah.
Sometime of year.
All right. Anything else? For the good of the order. All right. Do I have a consensus to adjourn?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. At 8:47, meeting adjourned.